All right, let's get us going. It's 7 o'clock. I am recording. All right, let me do a quick roll call of attendance. Oh, well, let me start my spiel first. This is the Park Commission meeting of November 22nd, 2021. A roll call of who is present. Anna?
Here.
Chris?
Here.
Dave?
Here.
Myself, I'm here. DPW Director Rob Oliver sent a message a little bit ago saying that he would not be in attendance. He wasn't feeling well, and Susanna Jewell will not be with us tonight. All right, so apparently on our agenda, I'm opening the meeting twice. I seem to have successfully done that. Do we have any public or board comment? Great.
I don't know. Soccer's probably winding down in a couple of weeks.
Awesome. Did you have a good turnout for that?
Yeah, it was a good season. Yeah,
Good.
a little bit late yesterday. But we get at least one more week, and I did send him a message to say if we had portable nets, could we still continue to play if there was interest, even though they're going to lock up the other nets. So we'll see what they say. I said I understand either way, but if it's possible and people because the people that were there yesterday said they would continue to play if it was available. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. Good. All right, let's see. We have no minutes yet. I have to touch base with Dawn to see how long she thinks it's going to be until we have some to approve. We have no DPW town manager updates because they told me last minute they were not attending, so there's none there. Anthony is on.
Can we request an update from him?
Yeah, would you want an update on
Karen? I know he'd done a few interviews and so forth, it sounded like.
Yeah, so I did ask the other day, and I was told that I think it was last meeting, he had given us an update. So I don't have anything more than that. I have it, I think I told you earlier when you had sent a message asking about the rec director position. I was already on the phone with Julie, but we were crazy trying to get some other stuff done for tonight. So I will definitely check in with him on that. Anthony, are you on? Maybe.
Of course I am. Nope, very much so. And Greg's having some trouble getting in.
Okay.
So I've just been going on and off mute.
Do you want to?
He's trying a reboot and he should be in.
Okay.
Yeah, could we wait? Because he's actually leading the conversation tonight.
Yep.
He's done all the work and it's all of his work that he's presenting.
Awesome.
So
Absolutely.
he's got all the materials and the smiling face.
Okay, awesome. While we wait for him, just because I think the Marshall Park stuff's going to take a little bit longer than a couple of minutes. Anna, do you want to give a quick update on open space?
Sure. So we had a meeting a few weeks ago, and I think 2 weeks ago, we are going to do a site visit to different properties around Shirley Lake. The property that I think Karen had mentioned, the Parmenter Road, they said it doesn't have easy access or parking on that area. So that's when I requested that we do a site visit, because even if I go there, I won't know which properties are what. That's scheduled for December 4th. The other thing was Open Space received a $10,000 donation from the farm that was going to go behind Walmart. They found a different location, and that's to be used at the discretion of Open Space. So if there's anything that Parks would like to request that fund to be used in one of our properties, we probably should, consider on what do we want to do, and maybe come up with a short proposal, because it's just at the discretion of the committee.
Is there something that you would recommend as a project for us in that?
Well, one thing that I thought about it was actually looking at Town Beach and the water, the weeds that are growing there. I think that's something very important that we got to figure out, and finding a way to figure out what is that we need to do would probably going to be the first phase. So I wouldn't even know where to start, but maybe having, that is something that affects open space, affects, the community directly. And so that's one that I thought about it, but I don't know, other commissioners may have suggestions.
Great.
One, I mean, small probably, but I know we talked about signage out at the Northfield Road.
Yeah.
Our side of the road, putting some signage over there regarding dog policies and things like that. So it may be something smaller, but signage that could go to parks for some of the new policies and so forth that we have to mix in there. So that lettuce company's not going in behind Walmart now?
No, they found a facility that I guess they had already the greenhouses built, so it was going to be
Oh,
a
wow.
cheaper project in New Hampshire.
It's too bad.
Yeah, they left us a nice check, so.
Very true. Very true. All right. Anybody else have anything on that? topic? Yep.
So I just want to finish it up. If we wanted to take an action, we need to talk about it and formalize that, because I think it would be a stronger request if it's coming from the commission versus just a commissioner.
When do you need that information for? Like, when would you want to present something to them?
Well, it's open for anybody to submit any projects. Maybe I got a feeling that maybe Paula would have something. Let me see, when is our next meeting? Our next meeting is going to be December 14th.
Okay.
So if we have something, it might be a good idea to bring it there.
Okay.
And a quick question, I'm sorry, where did you say this money was coming from?
The farm that was going to go to in the back of Walmart, the lettuce company, I forgot their name. They donated, they donated $10,000 to Open Space Committee to use towards open space.
That's fantastic. Excellent.
So off the top of my head,
Congratulations.
well, it's open space, so there could, like, conservation or there's other groups that could be interested in that money as well. Off the top of my head, I think that the town beach is a good idea. I also think that the signage is a good idea. But my brain cell capacity this week has been, and last week was pretty diminished. So I hadn't really given much more thought to it than that. I don't know if any of the other commissioners have anything to add to that of ideas. So
Karen, the Northfield, what's it called? Northfield Park now? Just
Yep.
leave a property on our side. We don't have any signage showing that that's the name of that property and that it's under care custody of parks. Is that correct?
there's a sign up there. I don't know if it says it's under care and custody of parks, but there is a sign that says Northfield Park and Table Rock Conservation Area. It's right as you're approaching the park side of it. It's right over there. But there's no other signage in there. So I'm good with whatever way you run on it on. I don't know if anybody else has a strong feeling. We do meet again before December 14th, but it's going to be, I can add it to the agenda for the very end, but it's going to be more of a public forum situation. So
I'll take whatever action the commission would like me to do. And if we say, let's ask for something, I'll try to put some information together for them. There's no format to what is it's really to their discretion. So.
Are they looking for, like, so if we were to say signage, are they looking for us to say a sign is going to cost X? And so we're requesting X? Or
Yeah,
are they just
so-
or are they looking for a general sort of, hey, we're are they trying to identify some projects first and then see how they disperse and how much they disperse?
Yeah, I don't think they're asking for like a fix. Well, first of all, there is no format to this yet. This just came about this last meeting, and it was not something that we knew was going to happen. It was just, given to us. So they haven't formulated any process on how this should go. I just want to, if we have a request, I want to get in front of the commission right away versus, sooner than later, so
Sure.
that we can get it. I don't know. So I don't know what the process would be, Chris, just saying it. But if we have something, I can put something together to just present to the meeting. And if they want more things, we can then go back and say what we need. I think the open space has what they're charged with. So whatever we request, I would look into putting to the context of what is the open space committee goal, so that we can, what we're requesting can show to be working towards those goals.
Cool. Okay.
Does anybody, out of the two projects that were just mentioned, does anybody have a preference in either direction if Anna moves forward with one of them, or would you request that she move forward with both of them in case they decide to divide and conquer on a couple of different projects?
I think I'd say present the projects that we're talking about, and then as their group can decide what they. I mean, if the money is under their control, then they can, or at least putting some options on the table, and see what they say.
As a commission, I think I'd like to keep it open till our next meeting.
That's fine.
I mean, dropping this on us this afternoon, I've spent the last 3 hours mulling over the proposals and Northfield Park and so on and so forth. So, we're hyper focused on that. We're going to be as we get into the next couple of meetings. But if Anna, if you don't mind taking in suggestions from the rest of the commission, maybe only one per commissioner or something. I just can't think tonight of something that might be really appropriate for it. I don't disagree with the two that have been mentioned. I just don't want to miss an opportunity.
I'd agree with that, Dave. Yeah.
I'll try to find the statement which I'm sure is on the website somewhere, of what is the commission charged with as regards to open space, and I'll send it to everybody, so that as you think about the project that you think might be a good idea, how does that fit with the open space committee's charge, so that we can. All right, thank you.
That'd be super.
Great, thank you. All right, now we have our skate park friends. I think, Greg, you are our presenter this evening.
Hey, everybody.
Greg,
You hear me okay?
you can. Nice to see you again.
You too. I've been enjoying my respite out of town politics for a week.
That's a good thing. Now you're right back in it.
Not even a week. Yeah. All right. Is it possible to share my screen?
Yep, you
Madam
should be
Chair?
able to. And if you call me that again, you might be in big trouble.
Madam Chair. I'm going to start calling her Madam Chair.
Oh,
That's great,
do
Dave.
not. Goodness.
I like that.
All
You
right.
get t-shirts and everything, Greg.
This
Oh,
is
good.
Bernard. With your permission, I'll share my screen.
My mother-in-law is not here either, Greg.
Oh.
Yes, you can share your screen. You should be able to just do it.
It says host disabled participant screen sharing.
Oh, really? Okay, hold on.
If you do,
Okay,
Click
try
on-
again. Try again.
yep, there we go. Okay.
right.
Okay. Let me expand my window so I can see all of your lovely faces. Okay. All right. Thanks for your time this evening. So last time we were here, we promised you that we'd present a plan. So we've put together a few things for you. Well, we've put together this plan, and I'll go over it, but we also have we've been advancing discussions with a few potential skate park designers. We're not down that road yet very far, but we wanted to just give you a quick update on that. We don't want to put the cart before the horse. We understand that needs to be a collaborative process, and you folks are in the opening discussions of that process. So we don't want to, certainly nothing we present tonight, I don't want anybody to think that we're progressing too quickly, but I do want to just let you know that we are starting to advance the discussion a bit. So we're getting a little bit excited. We've had a really big, Anthony can talk about this, but we've had some really big news in the fundraising department over the last couple of weeks, which is really cool. So I'll leave that up to Anthony after I'm done, but just real briefly here. What I did was put together this plan, and you can all see this?
Again,
My screen, okay. So Route 2A is out on this side of the screen. And you come in the entrance road, the paved entrance road right here to get into the unpaved parking areas. So the spot that we've sort of identified for the park is right in the wooded area, in that, I'm going to call it the triangle area that's between the parking area and the two access drives. So by way of context, this road right here is the unpaved road that was constructed a number of years back that kind of goes through the trees. That goes over towards the Little League, the T-ball field, which is down this triangle right here. And this fence right here is the outfield fence of the softball field. So that puts you into context. You can't see the Little League field, but that would be over in this area, kind of where this locust map is located. So so this I'm going to zoom in a little bit here. Bear with me. So this is just a polygon. Okay, so this is real preliminary. I just wanted to kind of give the commission a sense for what this would look like. So this gray rectangle on the screen is an 8,000 square foot park, and it's 100 by 80. And I positioned it, in that quote triangular area. I set it back 10 feet from all of the paved areas. And you can see that we have pretty good room here. There's a couple of constraints other than topography and soils, but a couple of horizontal constraints. The play structures are right down in here. They're located right here with this rectangular area. We actually would not have to modify that under this program. Now the commission may choose to, but we wouldn't have to do anything if we worked within this footprint. We would have to shift this unpaved road slightly. You can kind of see, let me see if I can highlight here. This line right here is the current location of the unpaved road. Okay, so my thought would be to shift that over slightly, and again, just doodling here, but we have the opportunity to sort of widen that area and just pick up a couple of extra parking spaces right in here. That might be good for all purposes, but certainly for access to the skate park, but also for overflow parking, for additional parking for the park. Again, we're not married to any of this. I'm just drawing in what I just kind of did some drawing so that you folks could see what this might look like. So what I did was to show, and this is going to be a little hard to explain, but I showed these solid lines that wrap around the gray area, and you can see here the 567, 565. Those would be proposed contour lines. So we would be, under this scenario, we'd be filling a little bit, but you can see here that even that is not really that severe. We're talking about, this is 1, 2, 3, like 3 feet of fill on this low corner. And that would allow us to get a level area across this 8,000 square foot rectangle with which to construct the park. Now, there'll be features in the park that would be deeper than that. Once the final design comes in, we'd have to sort of tweak that. Again, I'm just trying to get in the ballpark for what this might look like, so that you can kind of see it. There's an the main power feed for the park comes right through here, this line here that's with all the E's in the middle of it. You can see the E's kind of, they're very small. That's a buried power feed, the power line that goes to the transformer, which is right over right in this area here. You can't see it, but it's off this page, but it's right in this location here. So this design would actually miss all of that. So we wouldn't have to worry about conflicts with underground utilities and things like that under this program. These lines down here that I drew, anything we do over here by way of impervious area, and by the way, anything that the commission does by way of new impervious area in a master plan would need some sort of drainage mitigation. So this is my thought for how we could mitigate increased runoff for this for the paved area here. We have an area that where we could put a small little detention basin if we needed to. There's other ways we can do this too. Again, I'm just sort of doodling here just to sort of get something on paper as a starting point. So that that gives you sort of an overview. I wanted to give you a quick, if we were to zoom in on the 8,000 square foot rectangle and show you what one alternative would be. Again, we are advancing the discussions with several skate park designers. We're at the point where we need to start writing checks. We need to select one and start writing checks in order to really get that process advanced. And we, of course, are reluctant to do that. Well, we will not do that until we have your blessing on location and also, overall size. I understand that we have that there needs to be a discussion on that. So, but I did want to give you a quick preview of one designer's idea for that polygon. Bear with me here. So this shows you a conceptual, again, I want to reiterate, this isn't the park that we'll likely build, but this is just one idea that that one of the designers we're working with had in their inventory, so to speak. And this is a 100 feet in this direction, 80 feet in this direction. You can see there's a ramp along this side. I don't know what any of these features are called, but several different features, some stair features, some rail obstacles and things, a couple of half pipe type ramp type features that are in here. So this is a park that we think would fit pretty well in that space. It's not extremely deep. I think that we're talking about cuts in here that, this ramp, for example, would be in the 3 to 4 foot height range. That would be like the maximum height that we're talking about on this type of park. So we're not talking about huge earthworks, huge cuts or huge fills, or also huge obstacles, maybe more dialed in for more of a moderate to an advanced park. This is more of a plaza style park, as they call it, more of an entry level type thing. But there's some features in here to keep all skill levels interested. So again, this is just sort of just looking at one alternative. This would have to be advanced. A design like this would have to be advanced. once we selected a designer and worked with them to develop this, and we'd further refine things. And then I would take that, what we landed on at this level, and I would translate it onto a site plan so that it could be constructed, that kind of thing. But just wanted to give you that preview. So, we're interested in hearing your feedback. We'd love to hear you all cheer and say, yes, this looks terrific. Go forward with your 8,000 square foot skate park in this location. But no, in all seriousness, we're at a point, and maybe I'll just, as I close, Anthony can kind of get teed up to give a little bit of a brief summary on the fundraising effort. But we are at a point now where we are ready to spend some money and engage in a more detailed design. And as I said earlier, we don't want to do that. Well, we can't do that until we have the blessing of this commission. So we're interested in hearing your comments, and if not getting your blessing tonight, getting a list of things that we need to address for you, so we can come back and advance the discussion as soon as we're able to. So Anthony, did you want to give a quick overview of where we're at on the fundraising side of things?
So actually, look, I'm going to hold off on that because I want to keep the conversations going. And
Okay,
what you
fine.
have just teed up there, I think is really the next juncture point in the conversation. So very keen to hear folks' feedback. And Greg, thank you, man. This is a bang up job. Appreciate your summary, and you stand on top of things as always.
Thanks, guys. Hey, Greg, can you go back to the map, please?
Yep.
I keep trying to click on it. It's not changing it from my side. So, couple of questions. That easement that's running through, based on the electrical easement that goes through.
Yeah.
So you guys are far enough. You guys are far enough away from that it's not going to be an issue. Or
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're at least almost 10 feet away with the hard part of the park. Again, in this polygon, you never know. We might round an edge here, who knows? And the other thing is, all this would be a fill in this location. So we would not be impacting that line.
Okay, perfect. What was my other question? I had pinged you the other day about conservation. I guess I didn't really put much thought into it until a week or so ago. How close are we? What are we?
Sure. Yeah. There's a wetland area right here,
Okay,
and there's a wetland area. I messed that up. Right here.
yeah.
Okay. And there's a buffer zone right here. Oops. I messed it up.
I see it.
Turns out I'm not an artist. There's a buffer zone like this, and there's a buffer zone like this. Okay. That's 100 feet from the wetland area. Any work within 100 feet of a bordering vegetated wetland will require a filing with the Conservation Commission. All right, so that's per the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act. The town of Lunenburg also has a wetlands protection bylaw that prohibits structures within 50 feet of a wetland. I'm not showing you the 50-foot, but if you just imagine, halfway between the buffer zone and the wetland, we cannot have hardscape buildings within that 50-foot buffer, new hardscape buildings. And then they have a 30-foot no disturb at all zone. Okay, so they want to see that you're not just doing any new disturbance within 30 feet of a wetland. So if you look here, actually I do show it on here. I apologize. Bear with me 1 second while my computer regenerates. You see here, I show the 30-foot no touch and the 50-foot no build. So this dotted line down here, within that that line, they do not want to see any new disturbance. Okay, so when I drew this, the grading for a conceptual detention basin, I held that 30-foot no touch. I honored that 30-foot no touch. So this would be in compliance with the town's wetland bylaw. The 50-foot no build, we could work within that, provided we're not proposing any new structures. So this stormwater management area would not be a structure as defined. And again, my office has lots of history relative to this, so you'd be able to do that. If we were proposing the park, the skate park, within the 50, that would be a no-no. We can't do that. So similarly, over in this stretch, you have the 30-foot no touch that's over here. A portion of the existing entrance drive touches that. The commission typically grandfathers encroachments that existed before they enacted this bylaw, which wasn't that long ago. Less than 10 years ago was when they enacted these zones. The 50-foot no build, again, they typically allow you to work within that in a previously disturbed environment. So I think that the things that are shown in this plan are definitely permittable, but certainly need a file. We'll need a notice of intent filed with the Conservation Commission.
Okay. Anybody have questions for Greg or at this point?
Yeah, I have some questions, comments. I'm not sure where we'll fall within, if it's going to be Anthony or Greg. So the first question I have is, a park of this size, what would be the parking needs for a structure that big, and what is the typical traffic that is seen, on a park of this size?
You want to feel?
That's a great question, Anthony. I'm going to punt that to you because I don't have an answer for it.
Yeah, I will happily take a stab at it. So if this was a facility that was within walking distance of our schools, which it kind of is, it's really on I'd probably see a lot more children walking to it and taking a pedestrian route to make use of the facility. With it being a facility that is a bit off the beaten path, you're going to see much more car traffic headed to the sort of the facility. You figure we're designing this with a max load of, we figure, between 25 and 30 patrons at a time. So with a little bit of ride sharing going on, you figure I'd say somewhere comfortably 10 to 15 cars would get you to full occupancy of this facility. Ballpark.
Okay, so at any one point the expectation is this park can accommodate between 25 to 30 users.
Riders, correct.
Okay.
If you figure if 25 is a good number.
Okay, and within that, you don't know if there is any guidance for parking for facility for.
No, it all
parking size?
depends upon, obviously, age of patron, right? Because a lot of the patrons don't have cars, and then you obviously have to deal with parents driving them to the facility, sitting there waiting for them, picking them up. So yeah, I mean, but again, you figure in the beginning, you figure the first year or two of use will get more use, obviously, in subsequent years. But yeah, no, we're using Gardner as a bellwether, right? And their facility, I think, is what, 4 or 5 years old at this point. And it's still regularly crowded. It's packed. They don't really have much for parking there. There's a lot of on-street parking. But yeah, again, a reasonable number, I'd say a dozen cars is a good number. Again,
Okay.
this is just theory at this point.
Okay.
But based upon anecdotal evidence, a dozen cars is a good number to have in your head.
Okay, I thought maybe perhaps this is, other building or standard constructions have for like office, you need X number of parking for construction this size, or warehouse.
I have to
this number
ask,
of-
not to be a wise guy, but in your research, what numbers have you been provided by the people you guys have spoken to? Have they provided any guidance in this area?
I haven't looked into any parking. I just know that we're gonna have a lot there, so I didn't really put too much thought into it. Good
Okay,
question.
just curious.
We'll
Just curious. That
research
is a great
that.
question.
There's probably guidance. There might be guidance on that in the, and I might have some access to some numbers on that.
Okay.
I've never, I've never had to do a parking analysis for a skate park, but I have done parking analysis for some uses that were not, are not typical uses that find their way into a town zoning bylaw, for example. So I can't look in the Lunenburg zoning bylaw. look up
Right,
skate
didn't
park
think so.
Under parking and say, oh, we need one parking space per 200 square feet. But that
Right.
might exist. That data might exist on the national level. So let me see if I can find
Yeah.
it.
Right.
I made a note.
And actually, if you guys don't mind, Greg, I'll take that as an action item as well, because we're talking to very different people in the space. But happy to do some research and get back to y'all.
Okay, that would be good. The other question that I have is regarding maintenance costs for a space that size. What is expected to be the year, some kind of maintenance cost for what's there, and what should park be expected to have to maintain? Like, and we can use the design that Greg showed as perhaps, just for discussion purposes.
Yeah, and this is a question that's come up along the way. And the way we've answered it in the past is, we're not yet ready to give you the answer.
Lovely.
But we're probably still not, but when we engage the designer,
Mhm.
that's the time when we're going to be able to have that, when we finally get a design for what this park is going to look like, the features that are going to be into it, the materials that we're going to use. We'll be able to come up with that. We've circled that, underlined it, started in our notes, like every time we've come before your committee, the
Right.
select board.
So
Unless
we
Anthony, you
have
have
had,
any more to advance
yeah,
on that. I just don't think we have we're
No,
ready to give it.
So we
Okay.
have spoken to a number, quite a few people about this. And Karen, again, like I said, I'm very happy to connect you with other Parks and Rec directors in the region if you want. You'd want to compare, from a climate perspective, do an apples to apples comparison. But they have anecdotal hard evidence for you on 3, 5, 10, and 20-year maintenance costs for their parks. And they have expressed to me that they're more than happy to share those numbers with you, because honestly, what they've told me is they're basically zero. And I know that every time we've presented those figures to your organization, they've been met with an immense amount of doubt. So let me take the action item, Karen. I'll actually connect you to the Parks and Rec director in Montague, who I spoke with about this a couple of months ago. And he, like I said, he's more than happy to chat with you and share his books with you, so you can see their park is almost exactly the size. And he's, years into this now and can share his data with you, just to put your minds at ease.
Okay. The other thing that kind of, when we haven't talked about fundraising yet, or money. And one thing that came to my mind, and I have some, I don't want to say I have concerns, but as we approach a time of, hitting the shovel in the ground and start building, I start having different questions about how everything is going to work out. Marrying the design that we're trying to decide on, how the companies are going to be working together and everything else. So, and I'm sure there's people that have done this in the past, and there's probably a way to make sure everything gets worked out. But, as a general question for the people that are sponsoring, Anthony, the fundraiser and so forth, has there been any promises made, in terms of advertising or what will be on the property to acknowledge their contribution?
That's a good question.
Not yet. Yeah, there hasn't been any, any requests made. But we are certainly thinking about how do we permanently recognize the hundreds of people and organizations that have helped bring this facility to fruition. Do you have any ideas or specific particular concerns that we can talk to?
No, I'm just, you know, it's I just know in the past there has been different towns, different projects in town that, you know, where it's, you know, done by not the school or not the town, and then, you know, getting to the end line, there's always, it's not always that people are seeing eye to eye what it can be done, what it cannot be done, and you know, in the school district, they actually started doing after the there was the locker room or something that was built for the football. There were a lot of things that came up that were problematic about that regarding signage. And I just want to understand if there's been any promises and
Yeah,
what
no,
are we
there haven't
getting
been.
for that? Okay,
Yep, no, thank God so far there is nothing to deal with.
okay. So
There are
the
no
only,
hurdles to overcome in that area.
okay, so it's, you know, it's the space that's there. There'll be a construction, and there's nothing else that has been promised that we will need to, the parks will need to adjust their policies or have to accept something done in a way that maybe hasn't been cleared with us yet. And you're saying, okay.
I'm not aware of anything. Greg, are you aware of
Perfect.
anything?
No,
Okay.
not that I can think of. Yeah,
Okay.
I
Yeah,
think,
and
that's a
obviously, if
great-
anything does come up, we'll
Yeah.
certainly be
Yep.
working with your team to make sure that, you know, anything that we would commit to would certainly be approved by your team.
Yeah, no, we haven't said that, you know, we haven't told anybody that their name's gonna be on the park or anything like that, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Although,
But
if we got a big donor, we'd probably be hard pressed not to.
Yeah,
Right,
we
right.
we have been, you know, soliciting for years now. We're shopping around the idea of, you know, park naming rights, but honestly, no one's expressed interest in it, so it's really a non-issue at this point.
Yeah, and that right there would be something that, you know, we probably would, like, I don't know what the other commissioners feel, but it probably something that I would think that we would need to be part of the discussions and so on.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Okay.
That's a great question, though.
All right, that's what I had in terms of questions right now. I'm sure more will come up during discussions.
Chris or Dave? do you have-
So I have a quick question for you. You mentioned something about companies working together or something along those lines.
Mhm.
Was there who in your mind is or are the companies that would be needing to collaborate or cooperate on this space, just so we've got our heads in the right place?
Right. Well, you know, we are today we'll be discussing the master plan design, and with the idea of there'll be new construction, new things happening at the park. And that was actually the question that I asked all the companies that presented to us. You know, have you worked with people outside your organization, because we have a skate park coming in? Then they were all very comfortable saying that they could easily see incorporating a design into their master plan. And that's something I wanted to clear up with them. It was sort of giving them heads up that if you come here, it is this organization that it is likely you'll be working with them. So that's what I was thinking about it.
So in terms of timing on the Marshall Park renovation / construction, do you guys have any sort of a timeline nailed down for that yet?
That's a negative. We do not.
Well, we have the timeline of the master plan, which is the master plan is where this, you know, this design would need to exist in it. So it's good that we are coming at this point with you right now, because this would need to be there. But the construction will be, you know, next phase, but we would need to have this information there. So right now is the right
Okay,
time.
but from a
When are you
timing
looking-
perspective,
Of
Yeah, go ahead,
building,
Greg.
no.
What, one quick question. When did you set, do you have did you set a completion date for the landscape architect master plan project or?
We did.
May 1, I think.
Okay,
Right.
yep,
Spring.
all right,
That's conceptual design.
Yeah.
Nothing beyond that.
Right.
yeah,
But that's fine. I mean, if we set aside the space for the skate park that you guys identified that you need and we agree to that, then you guys are, easily can move forward with your final design, discuss that with us. And I don't know all the ins and outs of it, but I would think you'd be able to once we have a set design that we know that your park's not going to impinge on anything else we're trying to do in that particular area. I don't see why it can't move forward to breaking ground, but I'm not, I'm not qualified to say that, but that's my impression.
Anthony, if your question was about around timing was when we were going to be starting construction so that you were starting at the same time.
no, it's actually the opposite. I'd rather, if anything, we can not overlap in any way, shape, or form.
I honestly, I don't think that we will. I don't foresee that. I think you guys would be starting before us, is my gut. So let me just, and then I'll let you give your update, but let me just, I want to make sure that I understand something. So you guys, so right now we have this general idea, this general location in mind, and that this is where we've talked about in the past. And you are proposing an 8,000 square foot skate park at the largest. And that in order for you folks to move forward into your next steps, which is working with designers, you're looking basically for us to lock in that you can have that space. Am I correct in that?
Yep, I think that's a great summary, Karen. Yep.
That was going to be my question. Is this where you guys there obviously have been discussion of a couple locations. Is this where you guys have decided this is the better spot? Like, is your group on, in line with this plan, or?
So Greg, do you want to talk to the conclusion that you came to with regards to the TCP property? Just to put everyone's mind at ease.
I don't I'm
Yeah,
just
no,
looking
it's fine.
if the group is,
So-
I don't need to kind of
Yeah,
toss
yeah,
it back and forth
yeah.
or whatever, but
No, I just want to make sure
Yes.
we're all on the same
Yeah.
page.
well, that's and that's my question. So if your group is saying this is
Yeah.
what you're proposing and this is what you want, then it's easier for us to wrap our head around it. As
Yeah,
opposed to
yeah, we're at a point.
tonight, are
Chris,
we
where-
leaving this meeting tonight and saying, maybe still TCP?
No, yeah.
Okay.
So
All
we're at the point now, Chris, where we're ready to say that.
Okay.
So, we think that there's a lot of advantages to the TCP site. I think I said this at the last meeting. Most notably, the proximity to the end users of the park is just ideal. But at the end of the day, well, let me just say, but there are also cons to that site. From a construction standpoint, believe it or not. There's things about the soils there and how we'd have to manage drainage and things like that would be difficult on that site. And then you combine the layer, the political layer, where we have a project at the TCP that's in flux. My sense is, in just sort of reading the tea leaves, that we would have a difficult time building consensus for a park in that location in 2022. Just because I don't think the town is going to be in a position that they're going to be ready to give that land up. That's my personal that's my personal conviction, not wearing any kind of hat, other hat, although I do wear a few other hats on that issue. So when we compared both sites and sort of got realistic about it, this site works fine from a construction standpoint. There's ledge here, but we're not excavating that deep. Most of what we can do out of the ground, so to speak, just because of the way the topography works. So from a construction standpoint, we think it works fine. From a location standpoint, it's not that great, right? From a proximity of the end users, but it's in a park, right? I mean, it's in a place where the town appears to be looking to put in, or is putting in significant resources into doing master planning with the, I think, if I'm reading your commission correctly, with the intention of giving the park a makeover and bringing the public back into, bringing this back up into, to be used by a larger fraction of the, a larger cross section of the town's population. So, you know, when we sort of thought about all that over the last 2 to 3 months, we've come to the conclusion where we think this is the right site for us. We think that it works. We think that we can build the size park that would be appropriate. We have the real estate exists. We don't have the real estate in the sense that you've granted it, but the real estate exists for us to fit it in there. We think that, you know, studying the topography and the soils and overlaying the park here that you see on your screen, we think that we can make it work. And actually probably as cost effective, if not more cost effective than doing it at TCP, believe it or not. So yeah, I think we are, well, I shouldn't say I think, we are ready to commit to this location.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Dave, do you have anything that you want to ask?
Yeah, just very quickly, Greg, thank you so much for getting this rendering before us. You and I have had the conversation that, you know, when we did the testing over there, that one of the things the commission needed was to know that your park potentially could fit into the space we were standing there looking at. This tells us for sure that it can. The other trigger was your group's commitment to this location and no other location. That's been a stalling point for a year or more. Now that we're all kind of moving in the same direction, I think everything can come together quite smoothly. I have no problem with the size of the park up to the 8,000 square feet. It doesn't look like you could fit any more than that in here anyway, unless you impact the road more and move things around and use up more space. I think that's the design that you showed us looks like an interesting design, and I know you're not fixed on that one yet. That would be the final piece. It's really important to me as a commissioner that we have a full discussion of the final design and a vote of support for that final design. Other than that, the only other comment I'd like to make is, and I made the comments during the interviews last week, that one of the things that if we could pull it off and get conductivity to the center of town over the wetlands with raised boardwalks and access of that type, it would give another, I hesitate to say safer route, other than the fact that it would get the pedestrians away from traffic, because you are going through a substantial area with, you know, cover of trees and so on and so forth. But I think that the conductivity to the center of town with the skate park going where it is going to be something we should take a really hard look at in the master planning. That's all I have at this point.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Dave. A quick question for you to follow up on that. In terms of looking at, you know, next steps to get from here to everyone approving whatever it is that someone out there in the ether comes up with, what exactly, and then if you need more time to think about this and you want to get back to us, that's just fine. But in terms of what you are all looking to see in terms of a design, or some things that are on your wish list to, see supported, to get the nod from you all, do you have a wish list, a checklist, something that we can keep in mind as we go forth?
So I can't speak for everybody else, obviously, but I can tell you that I do not, that I think that the designers know best versus my, I've never designed a skate park, so.
But Dave specifically said, you'd want to see
Yeah,
something
I
come
think,
before you. What would be good? What would be bad? What should we be keeping in mind so that when we come before you, you say, oh no, that's not at all what we were thinking. That's a horrible idea, or that's a great idea.
I don't know if
I
anybody
think
else,
Karen, my comments, or Anthony, my comments weren't towards the actual configuration of the park. I just think, it's appropriate for the commission and your group to have the final sign off once you have a design. The only other thing would be that at that time, we'll actively have our desired designer on board, or architects and landscape engineers. And just from them, I would be asking for, do you see any issues with this going and designed the way it is, given what we're working on with the overall layout of that area of the park? That's all, just to make sure that we're all on the same page when the okay is given to put a shovel in the ground.
Fair enough.
and I'm on the same wavelength as Dave on that. And what I would like it to come designed before you, finalize that's absolutely what you're putting in. It's the same thing we did with the playground over at Wallace Park, but obviously on a much smaller scale. And that we just wanted to see what they were anticipating putting in and planning on putting in. Because obviously we wouldn't want to say, yep, go ahead, go and put an 8,000 square foot skate park in and have your final design not come in front of us and then find out it's,
Of course.
one little tiny piece in the middle of a very flat slab. So not that I think you would do that. So
Worst
that's what
skate
I
park
was
ever.
thinking. Anthony,
We win the award. We win the award.
I'm gonna let the commission steer the direction in a second, but I want to throw this out there to you. I would like to ask that you and a couple of the boys meet with myself and the town manager, so we can get an idea of exactly how this has to go down, what the park commission has to do in terms of giving permissions, what the expectation would be on your side. This is not, we're not reinventing the wheel here. We've definitely have had other groups do projects on parks property that we've had to do very similar permissions for. I just want to make sure we all understand what those permissions are and how exactly this works, because I think once we give you the permissions that you're looking for, that you're going to be going full steam ahead. And I think now I'm starting to see glimmers of the light at the end of your tunnel, which is a good thing, because I honestly was wondering if this was ever going to come to fruition.
Well, that's good, because this is a lot more than a glimmer we're seeing here.
Yeah. So do you want to, before I hand it back to our commissioners to sort of hash out the square footage and the location piece that I think you're looking for some permissions on, do you want to give us a quick update on what your fundraising has done and what your realistic timeline is at this point?
Absolutely. So to date, we've raised about, let's say, just about $130,000 in cash and in-kind donations. We have received word that we are going to be receiving another $10,000 donation from a local charitable foundation in early December. And we'll be receiving another $25,000 charitable donation from another local foundation in early January. So that'll put us at total cash in hand, well north of 100K, and we should have just about $130,000, $140,000 in the bank. we are looking at, with an 8,000 square foot park, having a cost of somewhere around $22 to $25 per square foot. And we're looking at basically shaving that number down by bringing all of the in-kind donations into the fold. So we're talking with local suppliers for rebar to get that donated, lumber, concrete, heavy equipment, fill, all the sorts of things that you would imagine would go into a park like this, to really shave that down even further. So we're targeting at this point, breaking ground come ideally next, I'd say April, May, maybe as late as June, and ideally finishing this, easily within, next summer. So summer 2022.
And how much do you have to have in hand to make that happen? Like, how much more do you have left to go after these big donations?
I'll have an exact number in hand as soon as we have a materials, a bill of materials from the designer. And obviously we can't have a bill of materials until we have a design. But if I said we needed to raise somewhere between $25,000 and $40,000 between now and next May, I'd probably be close to correct.
And once it's, I guess my biggest fear is that you guys are going to start something and then not have the money to finish it.
Well, we would never do that, Karen.
Okay.
Never. Or Madam Chairperson. Never.
Please.
Mrs.
As long
Bernard.
as Anthony doesn't abscond with the money, we're all set.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
No, it is fully our intention to obviously have all the funding in place, all the commitments in place before we put the shovel in the ground.
Okay.
One other thing I'd like to ask, and I'm pretty sure I know the answer, but I'd like to verbalize it in a public meeting. I'm assuming that the intent is that the town is going to give you permission to go onto this property, build this facility, and then after its total completion, at some point, your group will gift it to the town, or is
That
there
is
any
exact.
thought-
No, Dave, that's exactly the process. That's exactly the process that we've detailed since day one. But if
Okay.
there's an alternative option that you think is viable and more attractive,
Yeah, I'm not saying that at this point. I do think that I've heard that some of the
Since day
other
one.
parks have continued to be managed and maintained by a nonprofit organization or whatever.
not at
organization
all.
built the
Yeah,
park.
no.
Okay.
We are talking very seriously about putting in place a Friends of the Park, right? So to, figure once a year, once a quarter, get together, do like a park cleanup. But this isn't a big facility. It's tiny. It's tiny. I know we keep talking about 8,000. Sounds like a big number. It's not a big number. It's not a big park. If you got two kids there for an hour to pick up trash, they'd be done. It's not a lot of work. So there's obviously other programming that can be done around this sort of a facility. So that's what we're really looking to accentuate, and really to provide a platform for children to, in future generations to continue learning from this project.
Okay, so that just feeds into the concern about the ongoing maintenance and why that's been a key question right from the start, because it is going to be the town and the Parks Commission, Parks Department, I should say, and DPW that will be maintaining this down the road. And I have no problem with the answer.
Totally
I'm just
understood.
clarifying it. Thank you.
Yeah, that's it. Again, that's exactly why we've done all the research that we have. And we're more than happy to connect you with any and all of the Parks and Rec directors that we have been speaking to about long-term maintenance costs. So again, put your minds at ease. And if there's a plan that you guys would like to see put in place to do future facility enhancements or something like that, please, by all means, let's keep the dialogue rolling. If that's something that you guys are interested in.
Thank you. All
Thank
right.
you.
So what is everybody's thought on knowing that they are looking for more? They need, in order to keep moving forward for them, they need some decisions from us that would need to be formalized. Is that something that you guys want to do this evening? Do you feel like you need more time to think about it? What's everybody's consensus there?
Well, I guess my question right now is, what is the question that is in front of us? Like specifically?
Specifically supporting the size of the skate park. So up to an 8,000 square foot skate park in the location noted on Exhibit A,
Um,
on the preliminary site plan for Marshall Park.
Okay. I understand that we can be caught in a catch-22 situation, you can get, or chicken and egg, I don't know, pick your analogy. We are not at a point where they're about to, break ground, if you will. I think what they're looking for is the ability to say that they have our support to build this park here of the size. I don't think we have, for myself, we haven't really resolved all the concerns that I have, or reconciled everything that needs to be reconciled in order to say, let's break ground today. The final design is one thing that we all have talked about it. An idea of the volume of people that are going to come in and the parking needs for that is another question. There are information out there, but we don't have it here. The maintenance cost is another one that we don't have the information. And honestly, we don't have the funding, details on the funding, what the cost will be. And I'm not necessarily comfortable that, although I do believe, Anthony, that we would be right there if they would be able to finish the project with the money they have and so forth. So I think I am comfortable to make a motion that says we will work. We accept that we are this area to be used for that, but there is all these other hurdles that I think we need to, get over before it's ready to push the, break ground. And it's more than just us knowing the final design. Like Karen, you mentioned that, it'd be important to meet with town manager to understand what the contractual obligations. Will there be a bond that, the skate park will take, should they not finish the project? What happens with the cost overrun of construction? I mean, we just left town meeting this past week where within 6 months, there was a 30% price increase on a project. And like Greg said at the meeting, we're not looking that this is going to change anyway. It's likely that the cost is going to keep going up. So I have a lot of concerns before they're ready to break ground. I feel like there's a lot of things that we need to make sure that it will be placed so that the town residents are not left with, an unfinished project. And it is a project that's well integrated with what we have envisioned for Marshall Park that fits everything. I don't know what a 25, I don't know what a skate park of 20 accommodates 25 people looks like in terms of movement. So generally speaking, I'm comfortable with the park being there. Whatever motion we make, I just want to make sure there is enough language there that acknowledges that there's a lot of things that we need to overcome and get in place to understand, that before they break ground. And the funding is a big thing. Like, Anthony said we'll have fund, it's $200,000, because that account for the 30% price increase that there's been over the past 6 months. Like all those things need to be really, like, it will be our job to go through everything and make sure that is correct.
Do we need to rescind the prior motion in terms of skate park size still, or did we do that?
We've already
previously?
done that.
We did that. Okay. I was trying to remember.
We already opened it up to further discussion on
Okay.
a different size.
Could I offer a little bit of commentary relative to Anna's, I think, thoughtful comments? Is that okay?
Sure, yeah, of course. I mean, well, Madam Chair, what do you say?
I say I quit. I'm done. I'm out.
I saw that coming.
So I think what you said, Anna, was very good. So we're not asking for permission to break ground tonight. I want to be real clear on that. So I think there's probably like at least, well, I'm probably missing many of them, but there's probably at least 3 more touch points that need to happen with your committee at a minimum. And I think that what we're really looking for tonight is authorization that this is a good size park and this location would be okay with the Parks Commission. If we got that, we could proceed to the next step and start going down the road of selecting a designer and getting a more detailed design, which I think would then become a preliminary design that we'd come back to touch point 1 with your group, and we'd say, okay, we've selected this designer and he's coming up with this preliminary design. What do you think? We'd solicit your feedback then. At that point, or maybe not at that point, but maybe at the next point, we'd advance to something a little bit more detailed along the lines, which would allow us to have a cost estimate, right? We'd actually have a bill of materials. We'd have, and we'd be able to go through and with the skate park designer, probably with subcontractors that Anthony referenced that are working with us to provide some in-kind donations, but people that could work with us to come up with a good cost estimate that takes into account the current climate that we're in. I mean, Dave Passos and I have been working hard on the other project in town and we have visibility in the cost climate. So we would need to, that would probably be touch point number 2 to your committee to come back and say, okay, we've advanced the preliminary design to this point. Here's where we are. Here's what the cost estimate is. And by the way, here's what we have in bona fide cash in the bank and bona fide commitments on in-kind donations. And then I think that touch point 3, and again, there's probably several other ones that I'm missing here, but the final one I think would have to be probably, I don't want to call it a tri-party agreement, but an agreement, and probably a legal one, with town council, that said that basically that the town is giving us authorization to go to bid. Like, I don't see us having the authority to put the project out to bid on town land until the town gives us the ability to do so. So the way that I see that working is that there's some sort of, I'm going to use the word audit, but that might be a little bit too formal, but that the town's going to take a look at this and say, okay, here's the cost estimate. Here's what we have for fundraising. Yes, it's okay to go to bid, right? And I think then probably is touch point number 4, that the town will probably be involved when we receive the bids and compare, okay, now we've received the bids. Here's what it's going to cost. Here's what we have in the bank. Are we good to go? You know, that kind of thing. I think that's going to be a legal, I think it's going to be a legal instrument that all that has to happen in the future, but we can't even get to those points unless we know that, okay, your commission is generally on board with we just don't want to spend even $5,000 more to go and get a design on this thing if your committee's not on board with putting it here and this size, so I think that there's lots more, and we're happy if the commission wants to make some sort of motion conditional on those other type checkpoints, we're happy to accept that because we don't want to move forward. It's sort of like baby steps here. We see it.
Right.
We want to move as fast as we can, but we want to assure your commission that there's definitely more involvement by your commission that has to happen and by the town at large and probably by the town's legal, by town council. So anyway, if that helps,
It
I don't want
does. It does. And I appreciate, and I think you understood what my concerns were. And that's where, that was really my first question. What is the question in front of us? And I think that's what we need to define in terms of motion. So, I like the location. From the design that they showed, it doesn't look there will be a lot of digging big holes, and I think that's a concern that I would have if it would be a lot of, moving of earth, and that would cause a lot more problem with runoff, and also it would have been a bigger project. I just want to make sure we approve a motion that is consistent with what we discussed.
Do you want to take a stab at that, Ann?
I was going to ask Greg, if I could ask Greg a question before we try to put together a motion that makes sense. I think I agree. I think it's a conditional approval that the commission supports the location designated on this design up to a maximum of 8,000 square feet. But in the conditional approval, do you have to list all the conditions? If we do, then we need to go right down that list that Greg just added, and at the end, and any other conditions required by the town or whatever, however we word that to cover anything we missed. That makes sense to most people?
Does to me.
So Dave, what would the motion be then?
It would be a conditional approval of the site location as designated on this design that's in front of us right now on the screen, up to a maximum of 8,000 square feet. And then we probably should list at least the basic conditions that Greg just outlined, and leave the last condition as, and any other conditions. And I don't know exactly how you word that, but we need to leave it open-ended because, as Greg even admits, we don't know what we don't know yet about what needs to be put.
Yeah,
And I don't think we need to go through 10 conditions. I think if we get the 3 or 4 or 5 most important ones, like they come back after this, they go to design, they come back to us with a preliminary design. And then I don't know if there'll be anything in between, but then the next step, come back to us with the construction documents, which will have a dollar amount attached to them, which they can compare to what the money they fundraise, and make sure there's no red flags there. And then the third one major step that I see is, as Greg laid out, the legal side of permission to break ground on the property. And I honestly don't think the going out to bid thing, I don't think the town should be too much involved in that, other than at the final design stage, having assurances from your group that the money's in place to do it.
Yeah, that may be, that's why I just think you should try to make the motion as, like Dave said, as generic as you dare. Maybe just approval of the park in the location specified. This is just a suggestion. Park specified up to 8,000 square feet, conditional upon approval by the commission and the town of preliminary and final design, skate park designs, and cost estimates. I think if you just left it open like that, that you'd protect yourself. You're not saying that you've approved the project. You've just said that you're authorizing us to get to the next step is what we're you know. Something like that. I don't want to put words in
Yeah,
your mouth.
Right.
no, I
Well,
mean, if-
maybe the, then the, okay, even simpler motion would be to just say that we are approving, we are setting aside, the location and the next step, you're, in order for a park, skate park to get a preliminary design, period. So maybe
Yeah.
that's all we are approving is
Yep, really just limit your approval. Yep.
just limit the approval to creating, the skate park organization create a preliminary design of a skate park located on Exhibit A. So
Yeah.
that way we're limiting to that and that only, and whatever else we learn and feel like we need to do in the future, we
Yeah.
can do it after that comes upon.
Yeah, you're
Does
not
our-
limiting yourself.
Our motion wouldn't be to grant you the permission to do the design. Our motion is to grant you the permission. We need to, our permission is space and size, giving you the
Yeah.
space and size in the park, not for you guys to go do the design.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
With the
We'll-
goal, right, we can say with the goal of creating a preliminary design, just as it's clear what step of the process we're in.
Yep. I think any of those things would work for us.
Right.
So whatever you're,
Whoever's motion, it just needs to give it to me from beginning to
Okay.
end, so I can write it down.
Go ahead,
All
Anna.
right.
and as you work that out, just make sure the 8,000 square feet is in there or I will not support it.
Right. What is your official name?
Lunenburg Skate Park.
yeah. Lunenburg Skate Park. Skate Park Project? Lunenburg Skate Park Project? What are we, Anthony?
We're the Lunenburg Skate Park, period.
That's what I thought. Okay.
We talk so much now, I'll do different motions coming to my mind. Motion to. So I make a motion to set aside 8,000 square feet
Up to,
to,
You can't limit it that way because the 8,000 square foot park is probably going to impinge on 10,000 square feet with the outbuilds, with the build outs.
So-
Just make it really generic, but we need to limit the size of the skate park.
just.
What do you call it?
Okay.
Itself to
Set
8,000.
aside. I'm struggling. See, I don't like being put on the spot. Um,
You want me to take a stab at it?
yeah. Yeah, well, I have different things here. Yeah. What do you have? I saw you. making
starting to type
notes.
myself.
Yeah,
I'm just thinking as simple as allow Lunenburg Skate Park. What's the word I want to use?
see, that's,
Authorize.
Authorize the Lunenburg Skate Park.
but that's the thing that Chris said,
I just say,
Make a motion that the park commission grants land to the Lunenburg Skate Park
well, we're not granting.
for the
land.
purpose of, yeah, but that's what we are granting land to them. We need to. Right?
It's a temporary land grant. Right?
Yeah.
You grant us the right to build it. We take.
I mean, if you want to get generic, just say space.
Space. So I make a motion to authorize, to grant space to the Lunenburg Skate Park for the purpose of an up to 8,000 square foot skate park in the location as documented in the plans that were presented to us this evening
I'll second that.
for the purpose of preliminary, for the group to do preliminary design.
I'll still second it.
I'm not going to add any more to that. Dave. I think that's it, right? I think we.
Right. I
Is that-
think,
I will be pulling the video up on YouTube and writing that motion down because I piecemealed it. I got the gist of it though.
yeah, but I think, yeah, rent space to Lumber Skate Park, up to 8,000 square feet in the location. Okay, all right, roll call.
For the
Matt-
purpose of their preliminary.
For the
design.
purpose of preliminary design.
Did you just become the Madam Chairperson on this meeting?
No,
Anna?
no, I said, is that, do you want to make a,
Yeah, so
Roll call,
Chris
Madam-
Sullivan motioned that, Dave Passios is seconded. As long as there's no further discussion, I'll move to a roll call vote. All right, let's start with Anna, Chris.
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
and an aye for myself. Anthony, I will contact you either later this evening or tomorrow, and we'll make a plan to go from there. Do you guys need anything else from us this evening?
Karen, I
think
wouldn't be opposed to
I'm
a
good.
company that maybe
That's fine.
if it doesn't require us to post a
No, it wouldn't.
meeting.
It wouldn't. That's fine.
I'll check, Chris. What was that?
Chris would like to join us.
Oh, perfect.
Yep. So.
Oh,
Super.
thank you very much.
Yes.
We really appreciate the collaboration. We've asked some good questions that we've, again, highlighted and starred in our notes. As we move into the next phase, we'll look to get those answers, and we look forward to, continuing the collaboration as we move forward. So thanks very much. It's exciting for us. I hope it's exciting for you guys too. So thanks a lot.
I think everybody should be proud. The boys the boys are obviously continuing to, commended. They're continuing to keep a hands-on approach to this, and seeing them out there is great, and obviously there's lots more to learn still. They're getting
Oh, absolutely. We're
out of
just
a
scratching
one-year
the surface.
program at school in 7th grade. They're getting years of knowledge. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, awesome.
Thank you for the feedback and thanks for the support, everyone. Appreciate your
You're
time.
very welcome. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and we'll talk soon, Anthony.
Excellent. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks,
Thank you,
everybody.
I
Greg.
guess.
Bye-bye.
Okay. That's done. Took a little bit longer than I thought, but that's okay. All right, the next thing up on our agenda is the discussion and recommendation of the firm for the Marshall Park landscape architectural and engineering services. Are you all in receipt of the email that I sent earlier or forwarded earlier this evening with all of the details of
Price proposals and
the price proposals as well as the rankings? Everybody submitted their rankings, and then Assistant Town Manager put together those rankings to create, a ranked system and where everybody fell. Did everybody see that?
Yep.
Yep.
Does anybody have any questions on that? On first, like all that information that was put out before we go into a full discussion on the different firms. All right. So we have 4 firms. We have Weston and Sampson, we have WOLA, we have RDLA, which is the Ray Dunnets, and we have Warner Larson. What's everybody thinking here? So in the preliminary or in the rankings, Warner Larson had come up on the top, tied by WOLA and Weston Sampson, followed by Ray Dunnets. And then the price proposals were sort of, they didn't follow that same ranking. So what's everybody's thoughts here?
I have a group in mind. Are we just throwing it out there, or what's the?
I have no idea how we want to do it because I've never done it before. So,
I think we
yeah,
can openly discuss it any way we want.
yep, exactly.
I have some comments, but Chris, if you've started, go ahead.
So I mean, coming out of my initial rankings, I wasn't in the same order. Once the interviews were over, I'm in full support of Weston and Sampson. And then reading the price proposals today, it kind of further solidified my thoughts on Weston and Sampson. I had the initial sort of reading the proposals and so forth. My thought was, oh, it's a really big firm, and that was more of a concern for me. But having gone through and listened to the interviews, I felt that the fact that they are a really big firm and have a lot of expertise in-house played to that sort of address that initial concern for me. I appreciated the fact. I think one of the things that she had said towards the end of the interview was that if, speaking of maintenance, that if they're building something that can't be maintained, then they've failed us. And that was, to me, stood out. I think that was the only group that I heard, and I'm sure that follows suit with any of these other groups. They're not going to build something that can't be maintained. But here, I think that was the only one that I heard that verbalized succinctly, and having that understanding that we're a smaller town, and there's not a lot of money floating about to maintain maintain parks and so forth. So that's that's my 2 cents.
Dave, you want to throw yours in?
Sure. Going into the interviews, I had Walla and then Warren Larson as my 1-2s. After the interviews, I flipped that. I support Warren Larson. I've had, through the TC Passios process, had the opportunity to work with a fairly large company. And I'm not so sure that was the best choice of what we had that we could have chosen from for that project. They have all the fancy guns and whistles, but they're not always as prudent with your money. Meridian's technology through Walla, they're the same entity that did all of the mapping and designing for TC Passios. Their capabilities are incredible, but I don't want to pay for capabilities of giving us great pictures to present to the town. I want the energy more into thoughtful design and reconfiguration of the park. So pretty much I was happy with Dave Warner's answers to all the questions that were posed to him, and the staff that he had there answering questions that we had and talking about the wetlands areas. And I think they've got the expertise to cover a wider variety of the issues that we want to address at Marshall Park. So my number 1 was Warren Larson.
Was your number 1 still Warner Larson after the price proposal?
Warner Larson was my number 2 before interviews. They were my number 1 after interviews.
Right. But even after the price proposals were opened, you're still?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
So how much of pricing was?
Yeah, let me
part of
give
your-
it. Yeah, let me give it to everybody. Let me get it. pulled
No,
up.
my question was to Dave.
No, I know, but I want to, absolutely, but let me throw the prices out there for anybody that's watching from
Oh.
home, so they're documented. So give me 1 second.
And Anna, pose your question so I can come up with an appropriate answer.
Sure. How much did price weigh on your decision? Because
That was my struggle going actually right into this meeting between Walla and Warren Larson. I mean, I had them 1-2 and 2-1,
Mhm.
you know, through most of the process. And then when I saw the numbers, you know, you wonder, okay, we can get Meridian's technology and their guns and whistles for $10,000 less than
Right.
Warner Larson's. But I still think that the answers and the people that gave us those answers from Warner Larson give me more optimism that we're going to be able to accomplish what we're looking to do at Marshall Park. So I'm willing to spend the higher dollar amount. Still leaves us with a little bit of flex money. I don't know that there's anything we can spend that on, but I've always been unhappy with a contract signed that uses up every single dollar that's appropriated.
Right, right. And especially if there's any kind of overrun, cost overrun
Right.
or,
Right.
or
And we may want to, you know, as we get deeply into the process, we might want to spend that last amount of money on an option that's not covered right now, which I
Right.
believe.
yeah,
That's my thought process.
right.
Donna, can I just give the prices while we're
Oh, yeah,
they're up in
go
front of
for
me?
it.
So coming in on the top was Ray Dunnett's landscape architecture at $50,000. I did have a brief conversation with Assistant Town Manager today, and it seems that that $50,000 also included some skate park work that they didn't know wasn't going to be needed. Then Warner Larson had come in second with $46,920. And then we had Weston and Sampson came in at 36,860, and Wola came in at 36,500. All right, Anna, go ahead.
So so I'm not crazy about signing up for a project that uses all the money, just like Dave said. You know, actually the Meridian, knowing that the Meridian engineers is actually top notch, actually, you know, I like that because that was the company that's, you know, is pretty much the cheapest. And so Warner Larson, generally speaking, I'm looking, you know, not just they were the highest, but they actually knew that the skate park was not part of the design. Their presentation felt too grandiose for me. And it didn't feel like, it felt just too grandiose, just trying to, you know, making everything wonderful and so forth. And it didn't feel like it was speaking to reality, to what we have envisioned for the park. And that was the one thing that as they presented, it makes me feel less confident about their vision for the project. You know, if someone is just coming to you and just saying, oh, I can deliver you a mansion, and you know, it just feels like it's just too far from what we think it can be. My least favorite was Ray, the RDL, Ray Dunne's person. Wola and Weston Sampson came in kind of tied for me. The one thing I liked about Wola was they seem to do more projects. They are not cookie cutters, and I think they would be more imaginative about proposing new things and working with the land. They just seem closer to that vision than just creating fields. And because a lot of the projects most of this company showed to us were cookie cutter fields everywhere, and that's not what Marshall Park is, with the landscape that we have there, the historical facts and everything else. So Wola kind of delivered for that. They also seemed very engaged with, you know, getting the right answers, creating a plan that's with the community. I drive by the Sudbury Park that they created, and it's wonderful because you drive by, you don't think that is a park made there. It's It's really well integrated with the rest of the Sudbury is. And I think that that's just wonderful. Weston Sampson, I like their presentation. I think having a company that's too big kind of worries me sometimes. But just as, you know, we have said, it's kind of nice to have a company that's mindful about maintenance and the cost of that. But I do worry they're too big and their proposal is going to be very cookie cutter. I think, this part of the project is when we wanted to really get a company that's going to be imaginative and understanding what the park is and bring us that, something that's made for Marshall Park. So that's my feedback. So I guess my top two is Wola and West and Simpson.
So I'm in agreement with much of which Anna has already said, as well as Chris and Dave. My top two would be Wola and Weston Sampson. The same draw for me to Wola is exactly what the draw is for Anna. When I think of Marshall Park, I think of it as more than just fields and athletic fields. I think of it as, the nature piece of it, and creating something that's multi-generational. So I like the fact that they're not cookie cutter in that and what they do. For me, the ADA inclusive piece is big. I felt like they got that. And Weston Sampson, there were a few times at the end of the presentation when they were presenting that I just sort of said, okay, we're done. We found the person. I liked a lot of what they had to say. They mentioned improving the quality of life for the residents, multi-generational resources. And if anybody noticed, at the end of their presentation, because they had included it in their actual presentation, I didn't have to bring up any ADA stuff. They had addressed it in there, whether they had heard me ask it previously or it was already in their presentation, I'm not sure. I liked their including the fact that we are still in a COVID world and we are running many of our meetings either fully online or hybrid, and that they, had already thought of that. Their size may not be as concerning to me as some of the others. I felt like they seem to be divided into different groups within their company. And I've looked back at the work that they've done, and I'm, nothing's popping up at me as being concerning that they are as large as they are. They have some, maybe a little bit more experience with fields, athletic fields, than Wola does. But I don't think we're looking to create some massive sports complex that's going to need, more knowledge in terms of fields than either one of these companies already have. So sort of where I am on it.
Yeah, I liked how, Karen, and I know I brought up the Sudbury place, but it's a very just envisioning how to not have the parking on one lot. So it's not, you drive in and see parking, the way they handle that really would help keep, that kind of thinking helps keep the character of Marshall Park, because, it has a lot of nature there. It actually has a lot of wildlife, and these little things make a big difference. So yeah, I agree with you.
Karen, could you finish off by giving us clearly your number one, number two?
My number one and number two, do I really have to?
Yes.
My number one would be Wola.
And number two was Weston Sampson then?
And I'm saying that as I sit here, because if you had asked me 10 minutes ago, I probably would have told you they were equally tied. but I know we can't function that way. I do. I mean, I when I think of Lunenburg, everybody likes to say we're a community that's no different than many other communities in the area. And while they very well could be right, not all of our parks are the same, and not all of our offerings are the same. And I think when we look at our community, when we look at even going back to last week's town meeting and hearing the conversation there that, we don't seem to have a lot of offerings for certain age groups. I think WOLA can help meet those and make sure we're hitting all the generations that we're hoping to hit with this park, while making it feel like it's part of a small community that, we're not looking to go industrial here. I guess I'd put WOLA, I would put WOLA above Weston Sampson at this point. Is my thought.
I'm glad we had these open discussions because as I said, my 1-2s were WOLA and Warren Larson, and really, even up till 10 minutes ago, that it was a struggle as to which one I really tipped to the top. But after the discussions that have just ensued, I'd be willing to make a motion if you're ready for it.
I am ready and willing and able and pen in hands. And let me just say, I do want to, before you make this motion, Dave, I do just want to acknowledge the fact that even though all of you are newer than I am to this commission, this is a project that has been in the works or I shouldn't say in the works, we have been talking about for many, many years, probably from the first month or two of me coming into this commission. I thank you, all three of you, for sticking it out. I'm the first one to say, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm learning as I go, and being willing to enter this process, because without you guys, we would not be where we are. And I appreciate everything that you guys did in this process to get us to this point. So I am more than excited right now to entertain your motion, Dave.
Since she did that, I'm going to acknowledge a couple of things too. I'm sorry, Madam President.
Oh, goodness.
Well, I have acknowledged.
Now you're
Karen
president.
Madam Chairwoman, sorry. Yeah. Karen, you started this in the Parks Commission a while back, and I know, and you have really led the group to this moment. So I really want to again acknowledge you and the work you have done. And I think, the strides are slow, but we are getting there. So truly, truly appreciate you. And I also want to acknowledge Dave Baskins, because he was our advocate on capital planning. And that's how we were able to kind of secure this fund. So thank you, Dave. It was needed. And I know you are our advocate. So I appreciate that tremendously. Thank you very much. So Dave, go ahead and make your motion.
And I think, Anna, we advocated for it enough previous to that $50,000 going to capital planning that I kept my mouth shut initially at capital planning when that came up for discussion. And I was amazed how much support there already was on the committee. So I kept my comments silent until everybody else spoke, and they were all on board with it already. But thank you. Okay, at this moment, I'd like to move that the Lunenburg Parks Commission accept the proposal from WOLA for architectural and landscape engineering services for our project at Marshall Park.
I second.
Thank you. Any further discussion before we roll call this? Awesome. So Anna.
Oh, hold on, Chris is muted.
I was muted.
Yes.
Sorry. Don't really I can get behind it. I think they were kind of there for me initially, and then I have concerns on the other side a little bit about their size being as small as they are, I guess, a little bit. And I hear the cookie cutter sort of deal. And so, but I think at the end of the day that, we're going to have the final stamp on anything we see from any of these folks. And I think it's going to be, we may very well find that the town in these open meetings that we're going to have and so forth, that the town wants a cookie cutter park. We don't know what the town's going to say. You know, so I that would be, you know, that's the only thing that I see. And I read the proposal and so forth, and it looks like a lot of their projects that are listed are all very, very new. You know, there's a lot of expected 2021, expected 2021, expected 2022 kind of comments in their project breakdown. I did like what they said. I do like the fact that they think outside the box. So I mean, I'll support the motion with some reservation, but
You know what, Chris, one thing I'll say, and I don't know if that'll help you. If we were in the phase of construction, I would be right there behind, with you. But since this is exclusively a design project, it doesn't really, goes into that next step. Remember, the original this class was step 1, 2, 3, and we went into, I think, step barely touching 2. If we were including step 3, I would be 100% with you.
yeah, I hear you.
But we are not there, and with that, I think that's a good thing. But yeah, I hear your concerns, and I agree with you.
All right, are we ready to?
Proceed.
All right, so this is a roll call vote. Anna,
Aye.
Dave,
I,
Chris,
Aye.
and it's an aye from myself. Awesome. I think Assistant Town Manager Julie is actually on this, so she probably heard this, but I will make sure that the town is aware of this as soon as I get off of this meeting with you all. So that actually leads us towards the end of our agenda.
Before 9?
Before 9.
Someone
While
talk,
I'm
we
on
gotta go
it,
at least
Dave,
9
don't
o'clock.
let me forget about public comment, board comment, but let me, I just want to deal with the next meeting date / agenda. We are now going to head into a pretty tight time schedule. Our next planned meeting date is going to be December 2nd, which is actually next week. How it got to be December, I don't know. It would be Thursday, December 2nd. At this time, I'm planning on a hybrid meeting. If you would like to be present and in person, wonderful. If you'd prefer to stay in the comfort of your own home and call in, that's fine as well. I'm working out all those details with the town now. We are currently penciled in for the Bilotta meeting room on December 2nd at 7 p.m. What was I going to say on that front? Notice has gone to the Lunenburg Ledger. I submitted it this afternoon, trying to get some public participation in this meeting. These will be, obviously, all of our meetings are public, but this will be the time that we're going to start engaging the public more in feedback. And then after the 2nd, I believe we're the 20th. I don't have it right. Of course, I don't have it right in front of me. I had it a second ago.
So is this December 2nd, will it be participating on that meeting?
Correct.
And okay.
Yeah.
Would they be ready to?
Yeah, they said that they would be. I mean, if they come back, if there's a concern and they come back with a concern, we can certainly ask, but these were dates that were actually in the RFP that we submitted.
Got it.
Let me just get it pulled up so I give the correct dates. So the anticipated dates for the public meetings would be 12/2. Does anybody have the amended ones? They were originally supposed to be 11/22 today, then 12/2 and 12/20.
Yeah, even the one that I have that says final proposal is not the amended one.
Okay, let me,
Karen, I think they were amended after the
Yeah,
fact
they were.
through email.
Yep, let me go get that then. Let's see. Give me 1 second, guys. Let's see, RFP dates. So it would be 12/2 and then 12/20 and January 5th would be our upcoming meeting dates. And I'm assuming if WOLA had any concern with that, or if something needed to be spaced out, I would just talk to Assistant Town Manager to figure out that piece of it.
Okay.
But
So
that's-
is it a Always 7 PM?
I have the dates, the times of the other ones are not set yet.
Okay.
Um,
And
you
what
know,
was
yep,
the third meeting?
1-5.
Oh, 5.
You know, part of this whole piece of it is community engagement. Not everybody in the community is available in the evening at 7 PM. I don't know what everybody's schedule looks like, but I would certainly entertain trying to do something, you know, during the day for one of those meetings, if it worked in everybody's schedule to do so. But I have not confirmed any of that yet. The only thing I've confirmed so far is December 2nd. And I did get a Zoom link this evening. And again, I did reach out and we are penciled in for the Bilotta meeting room. And I'm working with, I have an email out to PAC to figure out that piece of it. And I have to figure out how we actually access Zoom from town hall because I haven't had to do it. So, yeah, that's sort of where we are. Does anybody have any concerns with next week? Off
Karen,
the,
based on our discussions over the last couple of weeks about my situation, I should know, actually, I'll pin it down tomorrow, but I think the transition is going to happen shortly after Thanksgiving.
okay,
So evening availability is going to be somewhat difficult.
okay. Okay, we'll keep that. I'll make sure, remind me of that as we're moving ahead too.
I will.
So,
And I'll try to pin it down better tomorrow.
okay. So that is the deal for our December 2nd meeting. And Julie, do you have anything that you need to add about that December 2nd meeting?
So I think you are advertising it well. We just wish that the public will participate and tune in, whether it's in person or through Zoom. And no, I think everything will hopefully fall into place. And next Thursday we'll be here before you know it.
I know. It's crazy.
I know.
Karen, do you want to
So
share
we're
the
going-
verbiage
we're
so we
going
can push it
directly
out
into
on?
public engagement before they meet with us as a commission.
Say that again?
I said,
Essentially.
we're going into public outreach before they have a personal meeting with the commission, which
Well, Yep, go ahead, go ahead. So I do agree with you. I do think that I mean, all of our meetings are gonna be public, so it's not like, it's not like we would ever really be alone in these discussions anyway. The way the RFP was worded was that the first meeting would include members of the community. You know, between now and next Thursday, I would think that somebody within WOLA will reach out to us, and I will probably promptly send them Chris's way so he can provide the results of the survey that we had done. Because every time I go to access that survey, I always send an email to Chris saying, I can't access it again, and I don't know what I'm doing wrong. So we'll get that information to them. You know, and then I think the beginning part of that meeting will be collecting information from us. I don't think the entire meeting is going to necessarily include, you know, all community engagement, but I do think that there's going to be an opportunity for a considerable amount of community information. Yeah, and that's the way the RFP was written, that 12/2 date was were the 3 meetings that we asked them to be engaged with us on. So, but we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out as we go. And this is new to everybody.
If they come back to us saying, hey, let's change these dates, there's nothing stopping us from doing it, right? We don't have to agree to the dates because that was on you know, as part of the project. But if they suggest, because it's a time of Christmas and people are not going to be as available in their experience, we can consider changing the dates.
I have no idea how date changing works. Julie, do you have any information on that? She may not be. Julie, are you still with us?
I am here.
Okay.
I'm
So
here.
did you hear the question about the dates?
I was listening to the dates. Go ahead. I heard, the last one was on January 5th.
Yep, no, so there was a question on if the dates needed to change, if either WOLA, Anna,
Mhm.
tell me if I'm phrasing this correctly. If WOLA or us decided that
Yeah.
a date needed to be changed, is that possible?
Yeah, these are just anticipated dates.
Okay, these are just anticipated.
Yeah.
So Karen, like, since these are just anticipated dates, should we have a communication with them and ask them, these are anticipated dates in your experience, what should be, should we stick with this? Do you have a different idea of what would work best? Because the idea is what would work best, right?
Yeah, that's my answer.
I mean, I would
I
probably
think-
leave it as is if for some
Right.
circumstance that, either side can't meet it, for some unforeseen situation, then of course we can always be flexible and update it, change it if we need to, but I would stick to how you have it right now. If something comes up where you can't meet it, if they can't meet it, and of course we can be flexible, but I would, we have a pretty aggressive schedule, so I'd like to stick to it.
That sounds good to me as well.
Karen, do you
All
want
right.
to send what you push for the paper? Do you want to
Oh,
send
yep, I was gonna
that
actually.
over? Because we can start to put that out on some of the social
Yeah.
stuff as well.
Mine's a little bit more formal than you probably need to.
Well,
put
we
us
can,
on
yeah, we can thin it
network,
out.
but
And
Yep, so
yeah.
what I had sent over to the ledger was the Lunenburg Park Commission will be holding a hybrid public forum for redesign of Marshall Park on Thursday, December 2nd, 2021 at 7 PM in the Bilotta Meeting Room at Town Hall and via Zoom. A Zoom link will be available on the Park Commission agenda. The public is invited to participate as we discuss the future of Marshall Park. The consultant will, and this is taken right from the RFP, the consultant will review their design approach and present research on the Marshall Park parcel. The consultant will gather anecdotal, I can never say this word, anecdotal information and feedback from the Park Commission and community regarding future park use to begin work on their conceptual site design. So that is what I sent out. I'm happy to forward that to you guys now, since I read it here, I can forward that. Yeah, so, yeah, go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, one thing I thought of is, and we steered pretty clear of it in the interviews, and that is the fact that we're already in the early stages of possibly putting a septic system in that location on the park. I think they should be aware of that and what the circumstances behind it are, so that they can consider that in their evaluation of, it was made very clear to all the groups that we need to take care of facilities requirements on that property. And we just need them to be made aware that that process has already started in that direction.
Yep, we will certainly do that.
Yeah, and the thing is too, that I've had some discussions with, actually with Greg Roy, just so that the commissioners are aware. If the field that is presently being designed does indeed end up going in there, it's 1,000 square feet. But with a little bit of extra designing, you can still have horseshoe pits, volleyball courts, those types of things on top of that system.
Yep,
Just so that the commissioners are aware that that's not wasted space.
okay. Yeah, we'll definitely make sure that, they're aware of all that as well. All right, does anybody have any public or board comments? Okay, so we are good then. Finishing up just after 9 o'clock. That was great.
see, we got to 9. I knew we'd get there.
I know.
I can stretch it to 9:05 if you want.
It's better that we're hitting 9 o'clock when we
Not
start
10.
at 7 than when we start at 6.
Right. Yeah.
So I will take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn at 9:04.
I guess the other two don't want to leave. Does anybody want to second that?
They want 9:05.
Dave, did you just
I
second that?
was waiting for 9:06.
Oh, God, did you just second that, Dave?
Second
Yes,
that.
indeed.
How's
All
that?
right, on a second, and a quick
Okay.
roll call. Anna,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
and an I for myself. We're all done. Thanks, folks. Have a great night.
Night, everybody.
Good night. Nice job, everybody.
Thank you, Chris. You too.